What's up, Roanoke Valley? My name is Travis Schmidt. Welcome back to Beats, Brews, and Buddies. This is my co-host,
Jeremy Price.
Today, on our beats, we're going to talk about playing in multiple groups. We're going to talk about the difference between being on stage and being the sound guy and what it's like to be professional in both settings with our good buddy, Jake Dempsey, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello.
Hit the button.
Hello,
Hit
hello.
the button. All done button. Jake, welcome to the show, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
We're happy to have you for sure. So, Jeremy, what are we drinking today? And I'll try to do a little.
You guys are drinking the 3-notched IPA. It has a IBU of, what is it, Jake?
20.
20, which is not.
Pretty mellow.
It's pretty mellow on the hops scale.
Minuteman IPA.
Minuteman IPA.
It's got that. It does have a little hint of orange. Do you taste that, Jake?
Yeah,
I do
it's
too.
a juicy
IPA.
And they're out of Charlottesville, it says too.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that's cool.
Yeah, I like everything this brewery does. They make very good beer.
This is the only one I've had, and when you said IPA, I just went for this one. So cheers to you, sir.
Yeah,
Thank
cheers.
you.
Good choice.
Clinkety, clinky, clinkety, clinky.
Foley. It's Foley.
Jeremy on the sounds today. So Jake, I'm going to read your bio. Jake is a Roanoke, Virginia-based bass player, live sound engineer, and recording geek. He currently plays in the Floorboards, The Dead Reckoning, Issac Hadden Project.
It's Hadden.
Hadden.
I'm sorry.
I messed
Isaac
up.
will give you shit about that.
I'm so sorry, Isaac.
Excuse my French.
Issac Hadden Project, the Darkside Experience, and various other pickup gigs and projects. You can also find him behind the console at 5 Points Music Sanctuary and on various venue and festival stages in the Southeast. In his spare time, he likes to hang out with his kids, wander around in the woods, and cook. So
You be cooking. I see your Facebook posts.
I do be cooking.
He be cooking. He be cooking. I be looking.
what does he cook? What do you cook?
All kinds.
I like, lately I've been cooking a lot of Indian food. That's been my jam lately. But I Mediterranean food. I like to use a smoker. I smoke a lot of stuff.
Oh man, that's awesome. My dad just got one of those like smoke eggs or whatever they're called, green eggs, but his is red, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, they're the bomb.
They're so cool.
What are they called? They have a name.
It's called a Kamado Joe.
Komodo Joe.
Komodo
Joe.
Yeah.
Or a big green egg.
Big green egg. So I played an event probably close to a year ago where it was a cook-off. It was like a big green egg type cook-off up at what's the Twin Creeks?
Yep.
Yeah, it was. I'm like, and I didn't understand the event until I got there. We played, and I went around. People just giving me food, and I'm like, okay. I mean, we used to get you get a meal with your gig, and I'm like, oh, this is a cook-off. I didn't understand this was a contest, and people just shoving stuff in my mouth. I was like, this is great.
Those things are great because you can get them up to 1,000 degrees.
And
so if you really want to blast something with heat.
And there's all sorts of things and ways you can cook with it. We cook with wood. I mean, it gives it a smoky wood hickory smell and taste, and it's there's some pretty neat stuff out there.
Well, let's get cooking here.
Let's get cooking here. That's pretty funny. So I want to know, since you're playing with several groups currently, right?
Yeah, right now I've got 5 bands that are playing regularly.
Tell us how you tell me because I'm an organizational freak, and
it gives him anxiety just knowing you play with 5 bands.
And I was like, oh my god, how does he do this? So talk to me about that.
I have a real propensity for distraction and disorganization, so I have to be very deliberate about organizing things, and Google Calendar really helps. So all the bands that I play in, they share a Google Calendar, and so if somebody has a date that they're booked, you can black that date out in the calendar, and anybody in any of the bands that you play with can look at it and say, okay, Jake's not available that date, and we can book things without making a bunch of phone calls. Hey, are you open this date? Are you and waiting for responses? As long as everyone keeps their calendar up, you can just book stuff.
It's beautiful.
It is, and it's very organized and really easy.
I'm really glad my new group is doing that. So
yeah,
I get ish for not having mine completely up to date. I don't really want everybody knowing everything I do.
The stress of thinking about being double booked, which I've done plenty of times, it's enough motivation to make me log into that calendar every day. And
isn't that like the worst feeling?
It's terrible.
Yeah, it is. It is the worst feeling being double booked. And
yeah, well, it's not nice because you got to break somebody's.
Right.
Yeah, you got to pick and choose.
Yeah, and you have to go through that hierarchy. Okay, who got to me first? Do I even remember got to me first? Which one's more money? And you can act like that question. You don't ask yourself that question.
No, you do.
I just want to avoid that feeling.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's happened a few times to you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, until I had to really teach myself to organize my time.
Yeah. No, it's a work of art.
You know, when I was a kid, they gave me those pills and stuff.
Yeah. Was it Ritalin?
Yeah, okay. It was Ritalin. This was like in the 80s.
Hey, you didn't know pre-show that I'm a behavioralist, so.
Oh, really?
So yeah. So I mean,
no kidding.
Diagnosed ADHD.
Yes.
There you go. And
he was out there diagnosing.
No,
yeah.
I should have wore that shirt.
It's not hard to see.
No, I'm amazed. I'm amazed at the brain, and I'm amazed how it works. And I think it's really beautiful with people with a label and diagnosis like that, how they work and how they do such wonderful things like you're doing. I mean, you're kicking butt and taking names around this town, and I think it's fantastic. And you're able to not upset and double book. So I think that's really cool.
So
not upset people while you do it.
Yeah, or not upset people, right? So. All right, so we talked about scheduling 5 groups. I was going to ask, do you have a favorite one? But we're not going to do that.
Let's not do that.
No, but
they're all
unless Jake wants to do it.
I love the floorboards just because we've been together
Have you
for
been
so
there
long.
with the longest?
Yeah.
I love them all equally.
Well, some of these groups they only play a few times a year, right? Like,
they're all playing regularly. The Darkside Project is probably less frequent than the other bands that I play in, but we're doing 4 to 6 gigs a year probably.
And that's just the
Pink Floyd stuff.
Dark Side of the Moon.
Yep.
Or is it just
we do Darkside, we do Animals, we do The Wall, and we're working on some new material. I forget which record, but we're gonna pick. We normally will do 2 full albums per show.
That's awesome, man.
2 albums a show.
Mm-hmm. So we've been doing Dark Side of the Moon and Animals.
Okay.
That's really, really cool.
It is cool. It's been a lot of fun.
How often do you guys, or how often does it come up that you should change that?
Often enough.
Okay.
But really, how many Pink Floyd albums are there? There aren't that many.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're talking about Roger Waters in the band, there just aren't that many Pink Floyd records.
Well, it's a specific niche of people that like that music though, too.
Right.
So
I think playing Dark Side of the Moon is something that people will just come and see over and over.
I mean, as you can see on
our
wall,
on
my wall, I did it. So with my old group, House of Schmidt, and it was amazing.
Yeah, as a bass player, it's really fun because the bass lines are so simple.
Yeah.
I have to really discipline myself not to play a bunch of
in between.
Just a bunch of embellishments.
Yeah.
And things. I just play super simply with that band.
It's a beautiful album.
It really is.
And I didn't hear it when I played it. I had not heard it before, so this was back in 2016. And
you had not heard Dark Side of the Moon?
I had heard bits and pieces of it, not in its entirety.
Okay.
So, and I didn't realize the storytelling behind the whole thing. And I realized while I was playing it that there were a lot of groups back in the 90s and 80s that did tell a story with their record making.
Right.
And I just don't see that anymore. And I think it's really beautiful.
Yeah, it's one of the best albums ever made.
Oh yeah.
But on so many different levels.
Guys, I think Jake was going to come across the table and hurt me.
No, we've talked about this before where people assume that you've heard like that Pink Floyd.
Right,
I didn't hear it till I was late in the game. And I did it the way you're supposed to do it, which I'll refrain from saying here. And it was very late in the game for me because I'm a hip hop dude. Or that's what I was initially into.
Yeah.
So when people are like, "Oh, you haven't heard this Leonard Skinner album, you haven't heard this Pink Floyd album," and I'm like, "No, but I was listening to the Fat Boys and roller skating. We all come from different places."
Yeah,
sure. But eventually, in enough time, it all it'll show up. I mean, yeah, it's hard to get through life without listening.
Well, I think
to
it's
them.
really cool that you just play albums, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and so there's not many groups that I know of around here that are doing that. Are you doing that sort of with the Dead Reckoning, or are you just playing?
No,
all?
the Dead Reckoning is just we have somewhere around 120 songs in the repertoire at this point, and so we try to curate a set list per show,
Sure,
and not do any. You know, we don't want to repeat anything.
Jake, how's your hard drive? Like with that much
Dude,
material?
I don't know. Honestly, I can hardly find my hat in the morning, but
with the material, you're good.
it sticks somehow. I don't know how or why.
It's going to be related to that whole. You know how music can bring back memories in Alzheimer's patients, dementia patients. Like,
Yeah. I'm not there yet. Jeremy.
No, but it's there.
his brain is wired differently than ours.
the path.
No, it really is. His synapses. So I can't
It's the-
synapses.
his synopsis synapse.
They're going crazy. Oh, I could do a whole podcast on this brain, but there's
stop
something
it.
really beautiful about the way your mind works. 'Cause
I used to rely on sheets, like sheet music a lot. And I just decided that it just looks dumb on stage to be reading music.
That's fair.
So I decided just to give it up and memorize everything. And it's way easier and way better.
You probably enjoy it a little bit more.
Yes, absolutely. Because you're not staring at something.
You can be in the song. You can
Right.
be in that moment.
Right.
I see a lot of. If you're one of these singer-songwriter types out here doing your thing with your iPad, you have to be, especially if you're working on tip bass. We were talking a lot about tip bass last time. You have to, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm not throwing any shade that way, but it is really nice if you know it, because then you can live it.
You cut the cord, so
Cut
to
the
speak.
cord, be there. But it's hard, depending on which way you.
I did not do
How
that
you're
with my
coming at
last
it.
group, and it's hard. It's hard to cut that cord for
I
sure.
just lost my audio.
Oh, I'll fix that.
You got a janky cable or something.
Yeah, is that better? You hear
Yeah,
it?
I got it.
So I do
Good
have
to
a
go.
janky cable. So let's jump gears to the sound guy that just heard his janky audio in my room. So talk about your experience behind the soundboard.
So around, I want to say 99, 2000, I started getting into recording. And I started to have a lot of musicians over to my house to record all the time. And my wife got tired of it. So I opened a studio. It was called Red Room. It was in downtown Roanoke.
Yep.
And recorded lots of music there. And while I was doing that, I met up with Bryant Cass, one of the owners at Blue 5, who needed a sound guy at the time.
Yeah.
So he brought me in. I started doing live sound there. And from there, I went on to work at Jefferson Center, where I headed up the audio part of the music lab, and did a lot of recording and live sound there. And ended up owning another studio for a while, and after that, got linked up with a bunch of venues in town, including 5 Points, where I've been for about the past 6 years.
Oh man,
Yeah.
That place is amazing.
I
It
was
is
just
amazing.
gonna say,
It's amazing.
If you have not been there and you're listening to this podcast, please go. Please
Yeah.
go support it, because it's local and they have everything. I mean,
Yeah.
It's just done right.
Do you go ahead and promote it? Like
It's a very different kind of a place. It is it's an old church. The guy who runs and owns it, Tyler Godsey, got into this church about 6 years ago. And just through the years, we have converted it into a really state-of-the-art music venue with great sound. And one of the things we do there is we talk about hearing loss advocacy, and we try to create an environment where people can come and hear live music and not have their eardrums, damaged, and their hearing damaged. And that's one of the big things that we focus on and talk about there is inclusion and hearing loss advocacy, and just becoming a place where literally anyone can come and enjoy live music and be a part of things.
It's so nice. So we played there once, and I felt like I was taking a step back on tour because everything's so really professionally done.
I mean, the light show was amazing.
Yeah,
when
the
I was
lights are
there.
great in there.
The sound was perfection. I mean
we
that,
try hard.
Well, it's a small room, and I think small rooms, even with high ceilings, are hard. I am a novice when it comes to running sound. A DJ and do a little bit, but
that room will hold. Pre-COVID, our cap was 275, so it's small, but it's not.
It's not
small.
Not
it's not tiny.
No, you're right. No,
Yeah.
but you think of a church, so like
Right.
you think of echoes and organs, and I mean, and you still got there's regular. I mean, those are the real organ pipes still.
There is no pipe organ in that building.
There wasn't.
There may have been at some time, but there's no pipes or organ in the building.
Oh, it looks like in one of the areas there
could have
been.
Yeah.
So you guys took that out.
Yeah, that's all been.
And
gone.
you guys are all upstairs, second floor too, right?
As far as production goes, yeah, we're on the mezzanine level, but we also wander around with tablets, so that we can listen from various points.
Do you like that?
I do like it, other than people thinking that you're just playing with your phone and in the way.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people just aren't hip to the whole like tablet-based mixing thing, and they don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Oh, I've heard a lot of sound guys. They miss the old analog days.
I miss analog. I really do, but I do not miss all of the stuff, all of the crap that you got to hook the power amps and the racks of stuff. And I mean, as a recording guy, I put a lot of value on analog, but I don't miss all the racks of stuff and hundreds of pounds of crap you got to carry around.
Can't imagine.
Yeah, digital is here to stay. There's no going back to analog.
Did you guys? I know we're gonna air in September. But did you guys just put a new sound system?
Yes, we just installed flown line arrays in the room, which is huge for us, and flue subs, cardioid subs in the room. So it's a whole different thing in there now.
Were you able to be a part of that process?
Yeah.
Good for you, man.
When did that happen?
Recently, Tyler secured a grant that allowed him to upgrade a lot of the equipment and infrastructure in the venue. And
Was it after I played there?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
It was a few weeks ago.
Yeah, we didn't have those. We've just done a couple of shows with these new speakers, which are RCF, like Italian, great, like boutique level stuff. But where were we? Oh yeah, he ordered the gear like a year ago, and the supply chain stuff being what it was, it took a long time to get it in.
That's fantastic. I can't wait to come out and hear the new stuff.
Everything is just so professionally done there.
We
I
try.
just really want to throw that. I showed up and I'm like, I felt like I'm back on tour again. Like there were times, and obviously they weren't met to a T, but times there were the functions happening. And you showed up, you did your thing, and you went and hung out, and then you played, and then you hung out a little bit. Just so well done. So it's just a step above the standard club, and I appreciated it a whole lot.
There's a house photographer.
Yeah,
Cloud Bobby is there. I mean, you got your house. House light guy too. So he runs and makes all.
There's an LD at every show. There's a lot of the time there's a monitor engineer and a front of house speaker engineer. So I mean, we just we want to create a comfortable environment for musicians, where they can come and play and feel comfortable and not feel like they're fighting the clock or fighting to get a good mix, where you can just go on stage and play and everything happens seamlessly.
Well, my first experience with you, and we talked about this pre-show, was I got up on stage as a fan to help Jeremy take off, and you were coming to help too, and I looked at you and was like, hey, do you mind if I'm up on stage helping? You were like, no, not at all. Thank you so much. And like most sound guys that I've worked with are very particular about, touching their sound equipment and helping out, and you just said, and I guess you just trusted the fact that maybe I actually knew what I was doing.
Well, you cut my time and stage on half, dude.
Yes,
so it was cool.
Yeah. So no, and I appreciate that. There does come I guess there is something to be said about the kindness of a sound guy and a sound engineer, and it makes it easier for us to work with that are on stage. So you have any? I
think a lot of production people have have a tendency to be abrasive in the interest of making things happen. And I sort of take an opposite approach to that.
Well, I like your approach.
Yeah.
So talk about the do's and the don'ts that you might want to talk about about others, about being a sound engineer and being a band member. So,
as far as like as a am I speaking to musicians or other sound engineers here?
both. So you do one with sound and do one with bands. What would you prefer?
I think you catch a lot more flies with honey than vinegar. Like as we were just talking about, you know, like be supportive. Just be supportive, be friendly, be welcoming.
As a sound guy.
Be helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a sound guy. Do whatever you can to make the people who are there to play feel good about it. Whether you want to or not. You know, smile, shake hands.
I mean, to be quite honest, you could say that in the other direction.
Absolutely.
To let the musicians know that,
sure.
that sound guys, they know you're a musician. They know.
Yeah.
They know
Sure.
you probably have some weird things, but only so weird. But you can almost say it identically.
Yeah,
Just
we
aim
could be
the other direction.
We could be a little bit more patient with them, you know, while they're doing their stuff too.
And subtractive EQ. Look into that. Learn subtractive EQ. It helps. Everything in a mix needs a place to live. Musicians just don't, you know, like don't play so loud. Don't be so loud.
There it is. It comes out.
Yeah.
Just don't
play to the
so
room.
loud.
Play to the room.
Play to the room is a man. That
It should be common sense.
Could be. It should be. How as you grow older, I think it becomes more intrinsic.
Yeah.
You just do it.
Yeah.
When you see people leaving your gig, you ask yourself, is that because of that crash cymbal that I'm in love with right now?
Right.
Is that because he keeps turning the volume up for every solo?
Right.
And you're not concerned with that in the early days. If you're one of these young musicians that are concerned with that, you are ahead of the game.
Yeah,
I wasn't. It's self-disclosure. I wasn't. And now I find myself like making choices based on what I'm feeling these people are hearing more than even if I like the way this cymbal sounds on this section or whatever. I'm like, it's just too loud in here. It's just too damn loud in here.
As a musician on stage, you can hear everything so much more easily if your volume level for the room is appropriate and your dynamics are appropriate. You know when to be loud and you know when to be soft.
Yeah. And it's also difficult to play soft. It is difficult.
Right.
It takes more training, more experience to actually play something in a timid way. I mean, I don't want to use the word timid, but just gentle.
Right. What's the Italian word for that, Jeremy? Soft nudo?
Pianissimo. Softanudo.
Softanudo.
On today's podcast, our drink is Softanudo.
Yeah.
Sounds like a drink to me.
Deliciously quiet.
Yeah, that's all I got.
But it's very hard.
Well, a lot of people equate energy with volume, and I think that's an important thing to
so
unlearn.
True.
Yeah.
Oh.
You need to unlearn that.
Yeah. It takes, again, I'm a broken record right now, time and experience. To play with intensity, but to play softly, that takes time.
Like, look at Ornette Coleman, you know? Mm-hmm. He played with so much intensity, but a whisper sometimes.
If you're in a room that holds 45 people and you're playing with a 3-piece, let that guide some of your musical choices. It could be instrument choices. It could be musical choices. It could be all let that, and that has nothing to do with your sharps, your flats, your scales, your modes, your rhythms, your context, your chemistry. It's like, if you were them, what would you do? Ask yourself that question from time to time. Anyway, that's a can of worms that I find myself teaching a lot to students these days.
Don't be so loud.
And it comes down to that. Shh.
No, I mean,
listen.
He answered the question perfectly. Do you have anything else you want to add to either a sound guy or a band guy?
That's all I've got.
No, I think it's wonderful. I wrote down. I haven't heard the energy. I mean, I've seen it. The energy typically is paralleled with
volume. Yeah, people
volume.
equate energy with volume, and that's an important thing to unlearn, I think.
I want to go learn what subtractive EQ is.
You know, just to play, just because it popped in my head, just to play DA, Devil's Advocate.
Mm-hmm.
If you're the Foo Fighters,
sure,
be the Foo Fighters.
Right.
But if you're not,
right,
just know that I'm not gonna say don't be the Foo. I'm gonna say know the difference.
I grew up at punk shows and
there's
that's loud.
Yeah.
But what I'm doing now isn't it doesn't have to be loud.
Yeah.
Well, you've been in this town for how long?
Most of my life.
So you've played a lot of the places around here, I assume too.
Mm-hmm.
So my next question involves your thought process and the groups that you play with. What are your thoughts on covers versus originals in this town? How well is it received? You know, what have you noticed over time?
Well, you're asking a guy who plays in 3 tribute bands.
Okay. So covers are
it works.
Works.
People, let me see how. Let me think about how to say this. Like original music, people want to hear it, but you have to work them up to it.
Spoon feed.
If you're playing music in this, like you're a local musician in Roanoke and you have a band that just plays only original music, I think that's great. But it may be more of a challenge for you to find work and find an audience.
Absolutely.
So, and like as far as playing covers, play the covers that you like, play the music that means something to you and you listen to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Represent the music.
Represent the music. And, like play something that you like. So it's not soul crushing, like you don't.
Yeah.
Well, people will follow that because
Right.
they'll follow what you like.
Sure.
And
they see, like, I feel like the energy between a audience and a band is reciprocal, so if you're having a good time on stage, that just translates to the people out in the audience. You're sharing something.
Yep.
Well, we've had lots of our other guests talk about that quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
One in particular, Jerome Clater talked about this quite a bit, about how, you're there and your job is to entertain.
Mm-hmm.
And you either entertain with your covers and you do it well, or you entertain
Right.
with your originals and you
Sure.
do it well.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. A lot of the bands I play in we do play a lot of original music, but there are always covers mixed in.
Let me add this to that equation. When you do a cover, do you feel it should be as close to identical or representative of the original, or are you more of the creative liberty type, or do you ebb and flow?
I would say that depends on context, but personally, I don't play in any bands besides the Pink Floyd band. That's important to play things like verbatim.
Yeah.
Everything else, you get that cable. It's anything else. I take full art. Like we'll rearrange things and play it however we feel like playing it. I still got no audio. Sorry, man. It's good now. Yeah, so like even with Dead Reckoning, like we play things our own way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's any fun just to like regurgitate things unless it's Pink Floyd.
Yeah,
and then that's your job.
I love it when this comes up because I have an opinion on this and I've never fully shared it and I'm not going to now. I think it's just nice to know that you can have 2 starkly different opinions about this and still be friends and still enjoy the art of making music. Because I have like some of my best friends in the area, or just my best friends in life. They are like the challenges. Can we do this verbatim, as you say, or can we make this the sonic
just like the record?
Yeah, just like it.
Yeah,
to the point where they're dialing their pedals in a certain way, and that's still artistic.
Yeah.
It's just
absolutely.
a different venture.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much value in that. That's just not what I prefer to do.
Yeah. And the other side's fun too. They're both fun.
Yeah.
I love it. And I like not knowing what I'm going to get. If I go see, whenever I get to go see shows now, I'm like, what are y'all going to do? And do something. Oh, it's
right.
Great. It's nice.
You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's the fun.
Yeah. Like jazz, great, perfect example. Like
perfect
one
example.
person's arrangement of a tune could sound like a totally different song than the next.
You were even saying pre-show that you really enjoyed just the impromptu-ness.
Absolutely, yeah. I love improvisationally based music. It's what I've always done, and it's what I love.
We didn't really get into, and we typically kind of start this, but where did your journey with music start?
Well, my dad is a great musician. His name is Paul Dempsey. You can look him up. He's a great artist. That's what he's doing, mostly fine art and graphic design and illustration now. But there were always guitars around. And I started plunking on those when I was a little kid. And then when I was like 11 or 12, I heard Iron Maiden and saw Bruce Dickinson play bass. I just had to do that. I was like running around my room with a broom, pretending I was Bruce Dickinson. And I knew, so from there, I joined the Andrew Lewis jazz ensemble, and Jim Paxton, the guy there who was the instructor there at the time, kind of took me under his wing and helped me learn to read music and help show me a little bit of bass. And since then so I don't know, 11, 12 years old.
Good for you, man. And you've been playing ever since?
Oh yeah.
Now, do you play guitar as well, or do you just prefer bass?
No, I mean poorly. I play a bunch of instruments poorly. Yeah.
There's something really beautiful about just owning your craft and just keeping it and just doing it well.
We were talking about it last week with Jody. Like, Jody doesn't really dabble in other instruments, but the way he touches his guitar, it's just, that's what he does most of the time. And that's said with indifference as well, but just appreciating the fact that I dabble in too many things. And when you're a different kind of animal. Well, but when he plays, it's like, oh, it's just so tasty. Yeah. It's like you're cooking the same sandwich every day. You're just really good at it. It's always
sure.
Anyway,
that's a good analogy.
The food, you can take music and food and do lots of things. Music and language.
Yep.
Music and food. Is there another one? We've been in lessons a lot talking about
we talked about music and culture a lot too.
Music and culture. Oh yeah, it's just a mirror.
Yeah.
The Spanish language and their music. Literally, it just mirrors itself. Anyway, I love those analogies. I find they're really helpful for advanced students. I find I get a lot of students. Do you teach at all, Jake?
Yeah.
You get students that are actually pretty damn good, but there's a certain artistic plateau that they don't feel okay being themselves in a way. I hope I'm putting this together. They're waiting to be told what to play next.
Yes.
And I'm like, all right, let's talk about how you can just play.
Right.
And just give you license. Let's open up the door. Let's cross the bridge, whatever it may be.
Right.
And I think that happens around 12.
They're afraid to be creative, I think. Yeah. They're afraid to just like be themselves.
Right.
Well, there is a sense of identity to what we do too.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're a bass player. You know that. You love it, and you're going to do it, right? And for some of us, including myself, like I know that it's taken me a while to just redefine that journey. And
it can be hard for people to express themselves.
Yeah.
Like,
just in general.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
so musically, I think it's just like having a conversation.
It is. I use that one a lot. I think it's really helpful.
It is a language.
But all that said, like I said, I dabble a lot. It's really nice, and like when I've seen you play. Now I know that you don't dabble. You just told us. But when I watch Jody and there's some other guys around, sometimes it makes me wish I didn't goof around so much.
Goof around like
just playing so many things. Like let me try this.
Well, some people can do that.
Yeah,
You're one of them.
I know. But I really appreciate it. Because then, my basement would be a lot cleaner.
Yeah.
So, speaking on the realm of you being a bass player, talk about, since Jeremy and our drummers, talk about the importance of syncing those rhythms with your drummer.
This has never happened,
and especially performing with multiple groups. I mean, you're playing. I don't know. So if you play with multiple, I assume you play with multiple drummers, but you might not. So
I do.
So
this has never happened.
What
this question?
I know. I've been growing.
Well, no, I just like the podcast, like the bass player drummer thing, because we approach this rhythmically, right?
We do. We would,
or at least multi-instrumental from that vantage point. But there's a lot of conversation to be had about your bass player and your drummer. Do you lock with the kick? Do you not lock with the kick? And many, many other things.
So just give us your perspective on that.
One of the bands I play in has two drummers playing full kit. the Dead Reckoning, Grateful Dead music. So they're two drummers. And sometimes it feels like being in front of like a steam engine. It's great. Sometimes it feels like pots and pans falling down the stairs.
I just really had a visual image of a bunch of pots and pans falling down the stairs.
Now we see how your mind works.
One of those drummers or me, if I get off kilter with them, it goes downhill fast. But yeah, I mean, I think, as far as like playing along, like syncing with the kick drum, you can sync with the kick drum while not playing the same notes as the kick drum. It's syncopation, I've been watching this dude on YouTube. I forget his name, but he has all these videos of like the best example of this bass line or this bass line. And so much of it, like the kick and the bass are not, totally lining up with each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. That's a hard answer. That's a hard question for me to answer.
It is a hard question. Well,
it needs to feel good.
Yeah, but you play with multiple guys too, so you have to figure out that chemistry between you and them as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like, expectations of a bass player and a drummer. So like you come into a situation sort of knowing what's expected of you and what to do.
You have to, if I could speak to this, because I love, this is one thing I am pretty, I love when the kick drum and the bass lines up. I don't have to have it. I want to be really clear about that. Every time you're doing pickup gigs or playing improvisational music, what you're doing, you have to
find
you have to come to an agreement.
Right. You got to find the home base.
And that agreement can change, but the idea of agreement needs to be in the air the entire time.
Yeah, sure.
And if you're disagreeing at one point, you're like, should we agree right now? Let's agree. Let's not, because disagreeing is okay.
You're absolutely
if
right.
you can do it amicably.
Totally right. Yeah. There are a lot of examples of where the kick drum and bass doesn't line up. You know, as you know.
And you don't have to have it. And I'm guilty of going... of just, getting a little whimsical. I'm like, I don't know how many times I've played this song. I'm probably messing up right now. Am I messing up? And I ask my bass player.
Right.
Not literally.
Right.
I ask with the glance. And he's like, oh, yeah. But I like it. So we're in agreement.
Sure.
So it comes down to that. But I know people that work on both sides of that. They're like, nope.
The stink eye. You either give the stink eye or the good stink eye or the bad stink eye.
What?
I love it.
To chime in, I know guys that's all they put in their ears is just drums and bass.
Yeah.
And that's it. They don't even listen to anything else. And so I've always found that question to be interesting because I've only played with a handful of bass players myself. I've only been in a few groups. So I think it's important to ask because you're so well versed in playing with multiple groups, but you have a set things that you're used to. I mean, you just said 105 songs. I mean, with your Dead Reckoning. I mean, I don't my mind's still blown by that. So you guys have to know that.
Yeah.
So before you get on stage.
Yeah, I mean, I think you approach every gig, hopefully you kind of have an idea of what to do, before you get there. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that's what practice is for, right?
Right.
So that kind of brings me to my next question. Music appears to be a way of life for you other than your family. Talk about the balance and the sacrifices that you've made, especially with your family.
I used to play lots of road gigs, like over 100 a year. And my first kid came along and that, like my daughter Ella, 15 years ago, she was born. And I took less road gigs, started picking up more local gigs. And then the second one, my son Miles, who's 10 years old now, like he came along and I took even less road gigs because it's just hard to be a dad and be on the road. It doesn't work for me. So now I do some traveling for gigs and stuff, but it's like, it's like a couple of times a month and the rest of the time I'm playing locally or regionally, where I can get home and sleep in my own bed at the end of the day.
Do you miss the road travel?
No.
and no. I've never road traveled, so I don't have anything to compare it to.
It's fun. It's an adventure, like you with your buddies on tour in the back of a Astro van with a hi-hat stand jabbing you in the ribs, sleeping on floors, eating bad food, playing these ridiculous venues every night. It's a lot of fun, and it's an adventurous lifestyle. But I'm 45, I don't do that anymore.
Yeah, it's a chase.
Yeah,
and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful chase. It comes to a point you can't do it.
So much fun.
It's educational as well. As fun as it is, it's also hard. It's also educational.
Yeah.
And you learn a lot about not just about music, about yourself.
So
about working with other people. Yeah.
I'm playing within a 3-hour radius these days. I'm not on the road that much at all. So I just want to be home with my kids.
So you're not staying overnight?
I mean, I do sometimes, but not, I'm not doing any touring or anything lately.
Good for you.
Yeah.
This is a great time to tell this story. You were mentioned on the podcast, and I think every now and then Jake and I will message. It's like every 7-8 months.
always look forward to seeing you, man. You're one of my favorites.
Oh, thanks, man.
It's the truth.
I appreciate that. Well, and likewise, because we never played together. We had Brian Holt on here, and Brian and I were like,
we should change that.
Together. Yeah, work that out somehow.
Yep.
Who's going to work it out? You or me? Travis?
I'll call you.
Okay.
Travis.
But when I got you tickets to see Stomp in Roanoke, you guys got to come see the show. It was fun, and we talked a little bit afterwards. And I was speaking to how I had just had my Ella a couple years, and it was getting hard for me. And I was traveling a bad road, and I didn't go into such great detail with you, but I mentioned you on the podcast. Do you know what episode? You remember everything.
Who are we talking?
I spoke about Jake. So we're talking about traveling as we get older to play.
Yeah,
Right.
we talked about that with Brian Holt.
Brian Holt. Was it Brian Holt?
Yeah.
And I was having a hard time coming to the conclusion that I needed to quit. And it wasn't quite the time to quit for various reasons. But I don't know if you remember this, but you told me, he's like, it's really commendable that you want to leave because you got a daughter at home, relationship, things are getting tough.
Right.
And you said, but at the same time, you wouldn't want your daughter to think that you quit for her. So just really think it through. And I don't know if I'm telling you this now, but because I've already told someone else's story, that I was like, I needed to hear that because it actually helped straighten me up in a few ways that I won't disclose here. I'm like, you know what? He's right, because I don't want to put that burden on her. She's going to grow up, and this is what you said. She's going to grow up, and you don't want her to think that you quit for her.
Not only that, but you want your kids to feel like they can go after stuff.
Yes,
without,
That's and it went down there. It went down that road too. You're like, you want to, show them what you can do.
Right.
And just last night, a dude sent me a video. A good friend of mine named Artis, who this was his last show with Stomp, I guess a few weeks ago. And I coached him through a couple of these roles. He sent me a video. I don't really want to go watch Stomp videos for the last year.
Right.
I know it fairly well, but he wanted me to see it. And at that point in time, I was over it. And now I'm seeing how you leave a little bit behind for other people. So I pull that up and I'm watching it. And my daughter runs up the stairs into our attic and she goes, "Oh, Dada, is this you?" And I was like, no. This is my friend. She goes, "Y'all are really good." My 6-year-old daughter and ran down the steps. And I was like, that's cool. Not that I need the validation from her, but you were coming on the podcast today, and I'm like, you know what? I can't wait to talk about this. But thank you for those words of wisdom. I needed them. I was getting dark, and I was like, man,
I've been there, man. I went through that myself.
Yeah.
And they really watch you.
They watch everything.
Your babies, they know what you're doing, and they pay attention.
It's beautiful, though.
It's
so beautiful. I love that Cora comes down here and wants to play drums. The other day she came down here and no one was down here. Goes, "Where boys at? Where boys at?" So she'll come down here. Where's all the guys?
She's very sweet.
Thank you. She's a doll, man. So I mean, and they're a blessing. And do your kids come out to your shows?
Sometimes. I mean, my daughter now, like, I try to help her with stuff.
She's 15.
And she's 15, and she's like, "Whatever, Dad." Whatever. Like, whatever. Like, I've become lame dad, which I love. I'm perfectly comfortable with that, but I can't tell her anything music related.
Oh, man.
I think you're our third guest. So we've had Brian Holt, who's a parent, and then Dan Keeley was our last guest who parented another one of our guests.
I mean, there might be some that we don't know.
Yeah, that's true too.
Jody's a parent. Yeah,
or that they don't know about.
So that's true too. So and those questions are important because I think our younger listeners need to hear the experiences that we have. But like, that's the other thing is, like, this guy's also playing at a lot and has kids, and so there is a balance and there is a compromise.
Well, we want our kids to, like, we want to be an example for our children, and I don't want my kids to think that any of their goals are unrealistic. I want them to be able to go after that shit and do it if that's what they want to do.
And help them along the way, even if they resist. Every ounce of help you give them,
right?
You want to let them know how you did it, if you did it. Yeah, good stuff, man.
Good stuff. Yep. So, my final question to most of our guests is financial, and so comment on the financial importance for playing and running sound. I mean, it's pretty much life. I mean, that's my only source of income is production work and playing bass. So, do I make a lot of money? No. I make a living. My family and I are
comfortable. We don't have, we pay our bills every month. We live in a nice house.
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's not easy for most people, but you can do it.
So, I don't know where to go. So we do that too. Do you think it's going to be worth it in the long run still?
Well,
for me,
honestly,
it is.
Jeremy, this is all I know how to do, man. Yeah. What am I going to do? I'm a bad employee. I've been fired from so many jobs. I'm not good at.
What do you get fired for?
Just not giving a shit.
So this is the only thing you care that much about.
I mean, it's just the only thing I can focus on enough to do it well.
Yeah. I get it. I get that.
Dude, I think that's really profound that you said that, though, because one, you know yourself, and two, you know what you're good at, and like you're doing it, and you're also making a living and supporting your family. And so like
my wife is she's a biologist, and she has a like a normal regular people job. So there's two of us working.
I would say, and I'm learning this because I'm a special educational teacher by day, and then musician and
that's great
podcaster by night. But my I really find value in people saying the word normal.
Mm-hmm.
I think what you do is normal, and I think it's normal for you in a sense, and I think it's really cool that you do that. And there's a part of me that's like, hey, this guy's gone and toured and been out. I haven't gotten that experience. I'm not envious or upset or angry about that, but like I think there's something to be said that you do this and you do it well, and people want you, and people want you to come over and do more. And I think that's really cool.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this is all I know how to do, so I'm going to do it.
Well, you must do it damn well. So.
Well, he does. He does. We all have these people when we show up to gigs, we're happy that they're there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope no one takes offense. I can see people taking offense because I love when Marshall's on my gigs, my Lolo gigs.
Taking offense to what?
Well, just saying favorites. There's a lot of I think there's a world that is against favoritism.
I think
days. Opinions, any opinion can be just frowned upon. And,
sure.
And you have to speak with such intention and precision of language these days as to not offend people. But
people are very easily offended.
And you should know, like if I mention my favorite or somebody mentions a favorite, it actually might not be my literal favorite. It just, there are people when I show up at gigs, I'm like, yes. It's just like seeing your friend, but maybe it's in a work environment. So, but yeah, Jake, you're on that list, and it's rare that it happens.
Thanks, buddy.
But,
well, the realism is that we do pick favorites. We do.
And that's okay.
Yeah, and that's okay.
People who are easy to get along with, that sort of takes precedent with me.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Somebody can be able to play their ass off, but if they're a jerk, then I don't really care.
I don't care.
Yeah.
There's so many of you guys that can just blaze all of us. That's great. I think you just play so well.
Do it.
You got to be a good human being.
You have to. You have to first.
You really do. And you know what? There are a lot of us in this town, and that's what I think Jeremy and I are trying to expose to.
Yeah.
Lot of solid players, but they're just really good people that want to tell a story too, and that's really neat. So
there are so many ways to approach music as a career. Not just are you an educator, are you an engineer, or are you an entertainer?
Right.
I think they all start with E. I think we're on to something.
Wow.
So you can be more than one of these things, or you can just do one of those things. You can play multiple instruments, but you have to be able to work with people.
Right.
And it is possible to treat it as a profession and to be successful.
Yeah, it's imperative.
It's imperative. Yeah, you have to be willing to do the work.
Right.
And the word work is ambiguous there. It's different types of work. You make sure you can play. Make sure you can communicate with people.
Make sure you can organize your calendar.
Make sure you can organize your calendar.
Share that Google Calendar.
Don't be afraid of your weak spots. If always make a little progress.
Always be working all the time.
Always be working.
Yep.
I gotta ask about the calendar. I have to. Do you put on your calendar family time, and then everybody sees family time, and they're like, okay?
No, I'll just put Jake off.
Good
Jake
for you.
out. I'm unavailable. We have the way I do it, and it's a great organizational setup. Is within Google Calendar, you can color code things.
Yep.
So green is gigs, gray is off. Orange is holds. You know what I'm saying? So that as long as you have your phone synced to that calendar, you can immediately see what's going on, what it is, and
it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's good. If I didn't have that, I wouldn't be. I don't think I would be playing with 5 bands at least.
Mine is like modestly accurate.
Yeah.
If I don't physically do it,
you're probably better at like remembering things.
So whoever listens to this, I know about 9 people that
your wife is probably one of them, right?
Well, I'm not. No. I'm actually I'm sharp there because I think she has a tendency to think I'm a little disorganized. I'm actually not.
We all are.
I'm not that bad, but I just don't want everybody knowing everything. Sure. I feel some kind of way about it, and it might be completely.
I just put off.
Invalid.
I'm off.
Yeah.
Not available.
Yeah.
I love that all the groups get to see that too.
They get to see what you're doing. I'm doing this. Yeah, I know JD would like it if I had absolutely everything on my calendar.
Yeah.
Because I'm not so I don't send messages back as quickly as I should, and it's not because I don't want to. It's because there's another message that I'll answer, and then another message, and my brain will say, "You just answered 2 messages. That's enough of the phone."
Yeah, I only do it
down.
Like I said, because I will forget that I'm booked. I will book a date, and if I don't put it in my calendar right then when I book it, I will forget about it, and then I'll book another date on the same date, and so I just have to stay really on top of it.
Yeah, it's a challenge, but like I said, you got to grow.
Gotta grow.
Gotta grow.
So at this point in the podcast, we call this the Buddy Gauntlet.
Okay.
And Jeremy's going to ask you 3 questions.
Okay.
That were not sent to you prior to give you a little idea of what we're going to talk about. But
hey, I just had a thought.
Go ahead.
I never get to press a button.
Do it.
Which one?
Not the wah-wah button.
not the red one.
Oh, the Buddy Gauntlet.
The Buddy Gauntlet.
Perfect. Your top 3 influences.
Top
3 musical influences. You cannot say 4 or 5. Top 3.
Okay.
I like to watch people fight themselves with
Jesus. Number 1, John Coltrane.
Ooh.
Number 1. Number 2. Man, this is hard.
It's meant to
Phil Lesh.
Okay.
Number 3.
Quite the contrast there.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I love it.
If you listen. Anyway, number 3. Miles Davis, I guess. If I had to pick a number 3, I had to pick one bass player.
Okay.
Your number 1, your tip-top non-musical influence.
Non-musical influence?
Yeah. Which can influence your music or just influence your life, like how you approach your day.
My kids.
People, like, you haven't listened to the podcast, so people are getting better at answering these questions.
They really are, and without even listening.
Yeah, and it used to be, people used to be like, what? Anyway.
Poor Laura Quadrados struggled so.
I got to listen to it. Hers just came out today. As I get older, I enjoy pulling influence for my music from things that are not musical. Mm-hmm. And we all do this, right? But as I get older, I'm seeing just how important that really is. And it's a really beautiful.
So much truth to that.
I'm loving it. I don't find myself listening to a lot of new music all the time. I try to. Sometimes I'll just get on Apple Music and be like, what's out today? And I'll just flip through.
I played some gigs with Wayne Krantz years ago. You know Wayne Krantz, guitar player from New York? Absolutely monstrous guitar player. And he said that he just didn't listen to music. He's like one of the best guitar players on earth, but he just never listened to, he just didn't listen to music.
When you take that, I guess you could call it a hiatus of sorts, but you still continue the craft, I think what comes out, obviously it's the blend of your prior influences, but a little bit of you gets to come out.
Sure.
A little more of you, I should say. Last question. Name one opinion for you that you used to be dead set on.
One opinion?
One opinion for you used to be dead set on that is now different. You changed your mind.
That's a tough one because there are so many. I changed my mind.
I love to hear that.
Daily.
Yeah.
Okay. I used to hate anything that involved coconut, and now I love everything coconut.
I love that.
Coconuts.
I love coconuts. I used to hate them.
I like them a lot now, and I used to hate them. I wouldn't say I love. I hadn't taken a 180 with coconuts.
Love them.
Hey, there's a song called Coconuts. Look it up.
Is it that Widespread Panic song?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
He sent it to me. I know exactly which coconut song he's talking about.
The song called Coconut.
Jake, I hope that I get the opportunity to play with you one day.
Yeah,
You've
sure.
been absolutely awesome.
I mean, maybe we got a trio going here right now.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I can't play. I can play drums. You play drums. I play guitar.
You play lots of things.
I know I do. I do. Jake,
what are we playing? I don't even know what song we're
Jake,
playing.
you wanted to pick a song from the Floorboards, right?
Yeah.
Which one did you want to do?
Lee Highway.
Lee Highway, the single?
Yeah.
Let me say this.
Not to toot my own horn, but
Toot it.
we went down to Mitch Easter's studio in Kernersville, North Carolina, and recorded the bass and drums for this on tape, and then everything else we recorded in various locations around Roanoke and Southwest Virginia. And so this is something that I mixed and mastered, and we all created it together. And it was
I'm glad you
very
said that, because I
homegrown.
was going to ask you if you did the work on this, because
this is I engineered, mixed, and mastered this.
And
I didn't master it. A guy named Curtis Plummer in Norfolk mastered it, who's a great mastering engineer, by the way. He has a studio called Dragon Ship.
Ship?
Yeah, you should get him to master all your stuff.
And you played bass on it.
Yes.
Obviously.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that it's one of my favorite band names in town.
The Floorboards?
Yeah.
Yeah, what lies beneath the floorboards, right?
Yep.
I love it.
The
Yeah.
Floorboards.
Love it. Ladies and gentlemen, Jake Dempsey, really appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you guys. So
Thanks
this
for
has been a lot
coming,
of
brother.
fun. This has been awesome.
Thank you much.
Let's do it again tomorrow.
So this is Lee this is Lee Highway by the Floorboards, mixed by Jake Dempsey. Guys, we'll see you later. This is Beats, Brews, and Buddies. Have a good one.
Later.
Junkyard dogs and calico cats, touring watches for sale. One road takes you, but it can't bring you back. You're gonna follow Mr. Lee straight to hell. Gypsies, hikers, and thieves, hillbillies, liars, and people like me. Some of them with smiles that lie. They got their names tattooed on their side. Bible Belt Blues, prime cold cars. Borrowed moon, black star. You can't see the forest through the trees. You can sure make good money down here on your knees. What's that girl already asked you? Please don't you wanna buy something pretty? Rear view mirror from an old Buick, an emerald, a pendant, a canary. Don't you do me like that now, girl. It's a pretty bird that sings. Bible Belt Blues, prime cold. A borrowed I'm still